All right. So what? 1 second here. I'm going to close my. I'm going to talk a bit about, and as Jeff Olson hammered a lot of this information into me as well. Jeff Olson lives in Lori's building, and yeah, he's in network marketing. He was nicknamed the Millionaire Maker because he helped so many people become millionaires in network marketing. So I want to talk a bit about being proactive in your business and structuring your business when it's small with a very particular mindset so that you can actually grow it to when it's big. And here's what I mean by that. What a lot of people will do is they will run their business in a way that they interact with their downline and their prospects and everything. They will run it in a certain way when it's small that they could never do when it's big. And because of the approach they use when it's small, it actually prevents it from becoming big. And I want to go over a little bit about that. So if you let me see, I'm going to see if I can pull up an example of this here. Rich Dad Cash Flow Quadrant. So I'm going to give you an example of this poster. Okay. Give me 1 second and we'll share this with you. Oops. Okay. So I want to show you this. What we're talking about is having the right mindset to grow a big business, okay? And if you see this now, we may have talked about this before. When you look at this cash flow quadrant, the cash flow quadrant is the 4 different ways that you can make money in general. And there's some very important analogies to network marketing. So ESBI. So when you are an employee, you have a job and you specifically trade time for money. Okay. And then a lot of people go, okay, well, I want to have my own business because I want to have freedom, right? When you start your own business, but you do it the wrong mindset or the wrong business practices and structures and systems in place, you go from being an E employee, having a job and trading time for money, to being an S, a self-employed person, but still trading time for money. Examples of this can be, a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, somebody like that, who, if they're not working, they're not making money. Does that make sense? And one of the challenges, if you want to be business owner, you own a system. So different systems are in place that help you make money. And one of the very simple definitions of a be business owner is this: if you can go on vacation and your business still makes you money, then you're a business owner, not just a self-employed person. Okay. Now, an investor actually invests into businesses, right? So one of the things that happens for people is in network marketing, I'll kind of explain it this way, and you can kind of look at it based on income a lot of times, actually, right? Someone with an employee mindset will make a couple $100s a month in network marketing. And someone with a self-employed mindset can make up to a couple $1,000s a month, but they will definitely very much max out there, okay? And this is why. One of the aspects of a self-employed person is they like to do things in a very particular manner. And because they like to have everything done specifically, no one else can do it as well as they can. Okay. And they can't give themselves over to allowing a system to do the job, since the system doesn't do as good a job as if they did it personally. Is this making sense to everybody so far? It's a self-employed person they have to do everything themselves. They can't just let the employee do it, because if the employee does it, it won't be quite right, and they'll have to redo it. Okay. And instead of just going, hey, I'm perfectly fine if the employee does it 70% as good as I do, as long as I don't have to do it. You follow me so far? So in network marketing, this shows up a couple different ways. Typically, you'll want to do a lot of hands-on work with your downline. In other words, doing a lot of one-on-one training. A lot of your presentations will have you talking a lot, just in case someone misses something. Okay. And because you can't let go of the process, your business can never grow very big. Okay. Now we go back to the original statement that you can't, if you want to build a big business, you can't do anything when the business is small that you couldn't do when it's big. Okay. So if I have thousands of people in my business, I can't personally do a lot of one-on-one work training with people. I have to use a system to let it do the job for me. Okay. And yet the system wouldn't do as good a job training that person if I spent personal time with them. Okay. But since I have to spend personal time with them, I can't expand it, okay, and grow it very large. So a simple example in my own Healy business is I understood this concept pretty well before I started doing Healy. One of the good things about it when I started doing it was I was so busy with personal clients and in the middle of moving, and I had so many people interested. So what it forced me to do is I had to do everything in growing my business with a system. I did very little one-on-one with people. I use things I posted on Facebook. My Facebook happens to be a very, my friends list and my level of influence happens to be very conducive to building Healy. So just that up front for sure. But I didn't have any other choice except simply send people a link that had videos on it and add them to the Healy Experience group, right? And when people would ask me about, okay, well, how much does it cost and what are my options? I didn't interact with them to answer those questions. I sent them another video, okay? If I wasn't busy, it would be very easy to go, oh, I'll get together with you. Let's talk about it, okay? Now, the thing to understand about this is that when I'm building my business, I'm not only building my business, the way in which I build my business is training the people I'm bringing in, okay? Because they're going to do exactly what I do, okay? For example, if someone wants a very large amount of information and they want to get super technical before they decide to do Healy or any other network marketing business, what I know is that they're going to have a very hard time growing their business. The reason is everyone will do exactly what they do. Everyone will take a couple of weeks to decide and want all the technical information, and it'll be super complicated, okay? So people will mirror that, right? So when I grew my business, because I grew it in a way that was very system dependent and used tools, when I grew my business that way, the people that I brought in, they tend to do the same thing. Because as I recruited them, I was also training them. Is this making sense to everybody so far? And so that's one of the very important things to understand. Now, I want to tell you something that I recently changed in the last couple of days. Good news, bad news for me is that I've recruited a lot of people. I think 183 people I've personally enrolled so far, something like that. Now that's great, but you understand now it's also, I have a lot of people needing stuff from me all the time. Does that make sense? And I was noticing myself getting a little bit of PTSD from, constantly people needing stuff, right? So one of the things that I realized is that there was very much a need to compartmentalize my life. Okay. So one thing I did is I actually took the Facebook app and the Facebook Messenger app off of my phone. Why is that? So that I'm not constantly like I'm not constantly reacting to something all day, that because it pops up on my phone. Someone needs something, I don't want to forget to do it, so I take care of it right then, right? And it's kind of a over and over and over, and it gets a little stressful, right? So now what I do is I have the Facebook, I do Facebook and Messenger on my computer, okay? So if I'm out spending time with my wife, my phone isn't beeping at me, causing me stress. Now I feel the need to go to the phone and also pay attention to her, and it creates a very stressful situation. Does that make sense? So I had to change the structure and environment that I was operating in, so that I had a more of a system in place, right? In other words, I'll have set times when I sit down in front of my computer and I answer all of the messages and all the requests and do all the things in a set time, instead of reacting all day long, which creates a lot of stress. Okay. It's like, oh, someone commented, I need to respond to that. It's like, no, it'll drive me crazy doing that. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? So then what I'm able to do is, if I can put my business in a structure on when I deal with it, then the idea of recruiting more people and growing a bigger business doesn't sound so stressful to me anymore, right? Because I'm like, no problem, I'll handle business at this particular time, right? Instead of all day long people needing something, right? Like when your kids were little, they're like, mommy, 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 mommy. Right? It's like all day long, they have a crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis, and you want to lock yourself in the bathroom just to get some like personal time, right? So does that make sense to people about the type of mindset you have to have? So as you're building your Healy business, that's one thing you might ask yourself. You might go, okay, would I do this if I had a massive business? Could I do it this way if I had a massive business? Could I treat each person that I'm interacting with in this manner? Or would it take just way too much time? I could never get around to it, right? Or do I need to shift what I'm doing and go to a system? Here's one of the ways this will be most evident, okay? If someone asks you a question and you know the answer, you have two options. You could tell them the answer, or you could tell them where to go get the answer. Initially, it takes less time actually just to simply answer the question than say, okay, here's where you go find that. Initially, it takes less time, but keep in mind you're now building a whole business where you're customer service, and no one goes to the actual source of it because you've trained them all that you'll always answer it for them. And oh, I'll do that for you. I'll take care of that for you. Does that make sense? And you could do it when your business is small, but realize the structure that you're putting in place is dramatically limiting how big you could build your business, right? So, for example, I know someone on this whose goal is to make $50,000 a month with Healy, right? If you want to make that much money, you'll have to massively give yourself over to a system, and at the same time, you'll have to be okay with everything not being perfect all the time, because it never will be. Does that make sense? Because as long as you got to step back away from it being perfect and be much more comfortable with a system doing it and talking to, here's one way to say it. If you want to build a very large business, you have to say less to more people, right? A whole bunch of people giving them very basic things over and over and over and over. So someone says, I use Voxer. I've heard other people talk about Voxer. I use, not Voxer, but, well, I use Facebook Messenger, the voice app, on it a lot, because that's very helpful. But yeah, for example, as I build a big business, I don't take a lot of phone calls, right? You can message me, you can leave me a voice to text, voice message on Facebook Messenger, and I'll respond very quickly. But if I had a phone call for all of them, you know, it's like when you call someone, you make a little small talk, and it takes too much time, and I have to do it in a way that streamlines everything. So anyways, is that helpful for everybody listening here? Helpful. One thing I do want to tell you, and I'm just going to tease you a little bit, there's some super cool stuff coming with Healy. Not to replace the device. There's going to be some super cool stuff and for pets and ways of delivering the frequencies to pets, and also another device that someone told me about, and I'm like, ooh, that would be super cool. And it's actually one of the first things Marcus ever worked on, but I think it's going to be a huge seller for us. And that, I don't know exactly. Hopefully in these next Frequency Fridays that they're going to be coming out with, hopefully they'll be talking about some of this. I don't know officially when they're launching any of this stuff though. All right. Any questions? Lori, you had some questions on the compensation plan.
I do. Actually, I have a question pertaining to what you just talked about too. Organizing and listening to other people's trainings just to see an idea of how their system is. So one thing that I learned is that in the first month, when you're working with somebody that wants to do Healy business, you do communicate with them more in that first month. You're giving them your attention, your time to get them started, and then they're on their own. And you don't hear from them as much like me, Steve. You haven't been hearing much
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, we call them like the babies. Like you don't treat everyone like a baby, but you don't ignore the baby either. Does that make sense? It's like we have to make sure that part of when someone is new too is to protect their enthusiasm. That's one of the main things to do. Hold their hands when they get disappointed. Encourage them. Does that make sense? Let them know that the frustration they're going through is normal. It is not an indication that they won't succeed in the future. That's one of the main things that you need to do for a baby. Yeah. So you had a question, Lori?
Yeah, actually, now I just have a question regarding that too, but staying organized. So I regret not doing one thing in the beginning. I mean, I have a list of people that I made that I was introducing Healy to. And during this whole list, it got to the point where I would do, like sometimes you would say 6 exposures it could take for somebody.
Sure.
I don't have a system where I don't have a page on each person and I'm not writing down what exposure, because I'm in like a massive, I got to get this out to everybody kind of headset. But now I'm taking that step back and I'm breathing and I'm like, okay, you're not going to help anybody if you keep that mindset. So,
sure.
So have you found anybody having a good system? Does somebody just have a notebook? Like I now have a 5-page
for it really depends on how tech savvy you are. I think it can be very good to have something handwritten. A lot of times people use 3x5 index cards with a little case, and they just go through the index cards, and then you put people in certain orders and just write notes on it and then go back to them later. That's one thing people sometimes do. Now, here's the interesting thing. I talked to so many people that I did very little follow-up because I only worked with the people who were actually really super enthusiastic. Now, again, that's my situation in that I had so much exposure. Not everyone can do that. Most typically, the rule in network marketing is don't leave one message or text or one follow-up unless you're prepared to do it 5 times. That's super important. I will tell you, here's the other very, very important thing for the babies, if you haven't built a large business before. One thing you want to do is you want to interpret everything in your favor. What do I mean by that? When information comes in, you will compare it against your subconscious beliefs. And if it doesn't match it, you will either ignore it or twist it to match it. Okay. And people make a lot of stuff up, right? If I leave you a voicemail or text about Healy, Lori, and I never hear back from you, what do I know about that?
I'm not interested.
Nope. All I know is I didn't hear back from you. That is the only thing I know.
Right. True.
They're not interested. I made that up.
Right.
Right. So as I move forward, when I interpret the I didn't hear from you, I have to interpret it in my favor every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could be super interested in Healy, and just as you're about to call me, you dropped your phone in the toilet, and you had no way. You're like, oh my God. I'm like, I was so excited about this, and I didn't save his phone number anymore, and how am I going to get a hold of him? And you're like, and we're out of luck. I mean, you don't know. So it's like,
you're right.
You didn't hear from me. What you'll find a lot of times, so you want to interpret in your favor to assume, hey, they're really wanting to hear from me because they're interested. They've just gotten too busy to call me back. So a lot of times you'll call someone and they'll be like, oh, awesome. Yeah, I've been so busy. Thank you so much for calling me back. I'm super interested. Can you help me place the order? And you're like, what? But I left you like 2 texts and a voicemail and I never heard back from you. And you're interested? Oh yeah, I'm super interested. Life was a little crazy for a bit. Okay, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't know, right?
Right. But can I ask you a question on this one?
Yeah.
So I did send out several texts, and then I went to email, and I said to a friend, are you ghosting me? Because I'm not getting any response. And I'm like, use that whole verbiage. Don't want this device to come between us. Just tell me if you're interested or not.
Yeah.
Still haven't heard from a response. What does that mean?
You don't have unlimited time, so go on to the next person,
Okay. Right. Okay.
You don't have to interpret against you. You just go, I don't know. Next.
All right. All right.
And that, because if you don't control that, you'll have a hard time with the right mindset moving forward of staying enthusiastic, because you'll just feel like you're getting rejected all the time, and that's not it, So there's a very interesting balance in this. Okay, on one hand, you have how to explain it. So on one hand, it's needing to follow up and be consistent, okay, because that's good business practice. On the other hand, you don't want to chase people, okay, and that's a balance to strike, right? When we come across too enthusiastic, right? They're like, that person's crazy, too much energy, right? That's why you want to be enthusiastic, but make space for them to come and ask you more questions, okay? It's like something super interesting, but not quite tons of info. And they're like, okay, wait, what was that? I need more info. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You want to if you can build your business in a way and interact with people where they are thanking you for getting them more information, then you're doing it right. Because they think it's their idea to get more information. And they feel comfortable doing it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the more comfortable someone is with, the more comfortable they feel in the ability to say no, the more comfortable they will in saying yes. Especially with this type of business, because we're not selling cars that you want to get a yes from this person before they walk off the car lot. That's not our business model. One of the reasons that's not our business model is because we're not just selling. Our business isn't selling Healy. Our business is to do Healy in such a way that it looks doable for other people to do. Right? So, Lori, for example, you're a super disciplined person and you've got a lot of energy and a lot of drive, right? In building your Healy business, you have to make sure that you do it in such a way that people still think they can do what you do. Or if they're gonna be like, oh, I'll buy one from her, but man, she's got so much energy and focus and she knows so much about it. I don't think I could do it, right? So this goes back to when someone asks you a question, do you always answer it because you know everything? Then what are you training people? Oh, to do Healy as a business, you have to know all the answers to all the questions. And someone goes, I do not have time to learn all the answers to all the questions. Therefore, I cannot do Healy as a business. See that very subtle thing? But it will kill your business. You have to be very comfortable often saying, I don't know. Let's find out. I know a guy who's made 6 figures in many different companies. He's a smart guy. He has a degree in physics and an MBA. He comes across like just slightly friendly, simple guy. Why? Because he knows this really, really, really well. He's just a simple guy. When he does a presentation, he talks about it so that every person who's listening could say, oh, I could do it then. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm like that person. I'm like this person. I'm like, oh, he might talk about, oh, here's my friend who's a super busy homeschooling mom. She's doing well. Here's my friend who's a young kid. He's doing well. Here's my friend who's retired and they're not really into tech, but they're doing well, right? Because he wants the prospects to go, oh, if they could do it, I could do it. In my situation, with my amount of time, with my product knowledge, right? That's always a process that's going through everyone's mind. And you have to make sure that the way you're running your business is satisfying those questions. Can I do what you're doing? Would I have help? Do I have the time? And would I do what you're doing to me, to my friends and family? Those 4 questions over and over and over. So, next question. Going once. You have your compensation plan question, Lori?
I do. So taking notes from a training call, I just want to make sure that I'm getting this right. Direct bonus, I wrote down, is 30% of the PVC. What does that mean? I know the points. I know the points, PVC, that it's points, but what does the direct bonus is 30% of the PVC? And then I wrote underneath that 33% HH, 36% HH plus, and 40% resonance.
So here's one thing. If you look at the compensation plan video I did, I answered this because the one thing to understand is you have a business that is international. Okay, so you have points, which are technically euros, right? And then a percentage of those. Okay, So the thing to understand is euros are decently close to dollars. So when I explain the compensation plan, I don't get very specific. I do approximate. So what does that mean? When I sell a device, I will get a direct bonus of approximately 100 up to about $500 on the resonance.
Oh, so that's what that means, that amount that you've, the 100, the 200, the 300.
Exactly.
That's what-
That's the percentage of the PV, which is technically euros, and then technically you would convert it into your currency. In our situation, it's dollars. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
the way they explain it in the compensation plan is very confusing. They're like,
Yep.
okay, well, how much are PVs, and then how do you convert it to dollars, and how much is that, and 36%, and it's like, who cares about that? It's about 100 to about $500. There you go. Any questions?
Okay. Dual bonus, 15% of the whole line. Get 15% of the lesser leg on PVC points. So I understand the lesser leg. What's 15%? So 15% of the whole line of the lesser leg.
Correct. So when you look, for example, the best place to get an understanding of what that will be is if you go into your back office under reports, and then there's a place to look at reports, like, what's it called? I'll tell you what it says. Here, I will log you. I will show you from my wife's account. I'm not really, she's got no business, but you'll see where you would go. Okay, so if I'm logged into my wife's back office, all I did was initially order a product for her. I never built a business for her because I can't. So you go to my reports, point history report. Okay, so if I go down to the very bottom, it would say here, current point volume and overall point volume before binary commission. So right here, you see right leg, left leg. So it would, your dual bonus pays a 15% commission on your weak leg. So right now she's got no volume in her left leg. If she had 1,000 points in her left leg, again, the points are approximately euros. Okay, so I would say, okay, that would be what, 150 euros converted to dollars. That's what she would get paid if she had 1,000 in her left leg at the end of the month. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And one thing to understand is that occasionally, Healy's compensation plan has some issues that they're trying to fix. Okay, well, one of the issues is sometimes, there's a little bit of a technical explanation, sometimes the compensation plan runs hot. In other words, it's paying out too much, and they have to take that 15% and turn it down a little bit because it's paying out too much. And that's frustrating, and they're working on fixing it. Like this month, there was no what they call a cap, so they didn't have to do that at all. I will tell you this: there's a lot of conversations that they're going to make some changes to the compensation plan between now and March. What that actually entails, I do not know. So all of this will change a little bit because you're always having to tweak things a bit to make sure that the compensation plan is producing the right action and the correct compensation. Okay. One thing with Healy's compensation plan is that hitting ranks isn't very clear for people, and it's not, people aren't incentivized enough to do it. Also, a lot of things have to change so that we're more incentivized to get more customers. Because in the US, if you have no customers and just members, you run into some regulatory issues, and they're going to have to fix that in a significant way. And I'm not sure what they're going to do that. So it will change.
Yeah, that was actually the next thing, the matching bonus to the first 4 levels deep. I just don't get that. But I mean, I guess I'm only asking in case somebody asks me, which hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. So if they ask you, send them my compensation plan video.
I looked at it. I'm still struggling.
Yeah. So what it means is, and keep in mind, you could build a massive business with someone asking you technical questions. You're like, I have no idea. I don't really understand it. I love the product, and they're sending me money. It's wonderful. I'll send you some links so you can study it. Because keep in mind, there are people who are their brain just works on super technical stuff, right? Here's the compensation plan, study it. Let me know what it says, right? They'd be like, yes, I studied it. I know exact every percentage, everywhere it comes from. I'm like, great. That's like, you're good at that. Good for you. So does that make sense? So all it means is it's as you build an organization of people, like I would get a percentage of your dual bonus check. That's what the percentage is. I get 10% matching of what you get. So if you got $1,000, I would, and you were my first line, I will get 10% of that. So it just incentivizes you building a team and helping your business partners make money. That's what it does.
Okay.
Any other questions from anybody?
So Stephen, this is Marcia.
Yeah, Marcia.
I think I put in the post or in the group last week that I can't sign up in the wallet because it won't take a post office box. And I don't receive mail at my physical address. I sent in a ticket. I haven't heard anything. Do you know of another way I could get around that?
Have you contacted eWallet directly?
I put in a ticket.
Did you put in the ticket through the Healy support or?
Yeah, through the Healy support.
Yeah, skip the Healy support.
Oh,
eWallet
okay.
has got great customer service.
eWallet. Okay.
Yeah. So let me show you what you do. For example, I go to my wife's back office. If I clicked on my payouts, and you see right there, it says I payout.
Right.
So you go there, and this opens up the site of the people who do everything for Heal. They're the third party people who take care of actually getting you your money. Okay.
Okay.
So when you go here, you'll see support.
Okay.
And if you've never been to this site, this is where you actually do it. Have you been to this site already?
No.
Yeah, this is where you get your money, and they can send it to you electronically, and they should be able to just take a bank statement. Yeah. So when you first come to this site, it will actually a video will pop up and walk you through the whole process. If you have any problems, if you click on support, and you go to the bottom, I think here you can have live chat support, but there's also a phone number in here. If you click the contact us right there, and you get the toll-free number right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they're very easy to get a hold of. There should be no problem.
Okay, I'll try it again. Thanks.
And for everyone else who's watching, one thing to keep in mind when you do it, if you submit all your stuff, occasionally check back and make sure it was accepted. Sometimes it gets kicked out for weird reasons and you just have to redo it or contact them. Yeah. So Colleen said, yeah, I called eWallet today. Superb service. Yes. Live chat. Very, very easy to get stuff taken care of. So any other questions?
Are you only doing back office questions today or anything?
You can ask anything you like. Yeah.
Okay, so I also put this in the chat that when I wear the bracelets, if I'm under 30%, it stays black, no matter how much moisture is there. And somebody posted today that Healy has changed their frequency recommendations to start out at 35.
Yeah, I find mine won't go white unless I do about 30%. So I always run it on
Okay.
about 30 to 40%. And I'm muscle test myself on that too. Yeah. So
All right.
Yeah.
So that
So
is,
just
okay.
turn it up a bit. Sure.
Okay, because I had some people that were kind of sensitive. So I was running them at the 1525 and it never gets white.
Yeah, it's yeah, you have to turn it up a bit to make
Okay.
sure people get connection. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
thanks.
and sometimes you know, you'll notice when it gets super low hertz, it'll go black anyways, and it's because
Right.
it's not measuring. It doesn't mean that nothing is going through. It's the measurement is a little sketchy on that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
yeah.
Steve, it's Lori. If someone's doing it at 100% because they're just not feeling it at all and they're up to 100, will they get any frequency at all?
No one should ever do it at 100%, and you don't need to feel it to get benefit from it. Yeah, so people occasionally, like my nephew was in a lot of pain, and my sister got a Healy, and he hooked himself up to it, and she's like, I don't think you're supposed to turn up that He's like, no, you need to feel it, and he didn't read the instructions, and it actually made him feel not very good. It wasn't a good experience for him.
So what would be the recommendation then? 30, like you said?
30 to 40, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I run the programs all the time without feeling it. Now, I will tell you that so they changed some things because some people were having reactions on the bands. Okay, so they changed the programs a bit, they changed the straps a bit. They're still trying to figure this out. Okay, now from what I hear is they're going to come out with new bands that have some sort of gel on them, and they're going to change it a bit so you actually be able to feel it a little bit more, because partially that's a sales thing. Does that make sense? People are like, I don't feel anything. I'm like, versus, oh, I feel something. Oh, I think it's working. Right. Whether or not that has anything to do with them actually getting better results. But it's an experience. It's a visceral experience thing. So it's going to take them a while to figure this all out, but eventually we'll have different bands with their more gel-like bands, and people it'll be easier for them to feel it again. But right now I don't run it over 30, 40%. And I used to feel it more than I do now, but it still seems to work. So.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Linda Bishop. If I could ask a question,
Yeah, go for it.
I have been seeing on another stream, Superhuman. I can't remember the full name.
Yeah.
They've been taught there's been a lot of banter back and forth about the EMF frequencies from the Healy and the,
Sure.
Bluetooth. Could you speak to that? I don't know if you've done that before, but could you speak to that?
Yeah, I think I saw that conversation. Absolutely. Here's the thing is that the device, when someone is in balance and healthy, the EMS is not going to bother them, okay? Because they're imbalanced, right? I know early on, I saw a testimonial from a group from a woman in the Healy experience, and she said she was so sensitive to any type of EMF, Bluetooth, whatever, right? That the app itself had to be on her neighbor's phone, okay? She couldn't even have it in her house. But as she used the device more and more, she got healthier and more resilient. And she goes, oh, I feel fine now. I think I'm going to get my own cell phone, okay? So one of the things to understand is very simple as this, is that there's protection programs to help you protect you from and recover from things like Bluetooth EMS stuff, okay? And so the device has built an ability to help you recover and be protected from that should you need that. So unless it's coming up for somebody a lot, I wouldn't even worry about it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. It just was very concerning because of all the back and forth about it. And so
yeah, well, people get here's the thing is that, I mean, I work with a lot of people with a lot of very sensitive health issues, And there's a song by, what's that guy? I forget what this musician's name was, but it was like this: everything gives you cancer. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like everything, like, you know, and yeah, we live in an environment that's not always friendly. If you're healthy and resilient, you can handle a lot of stuff.
Right.
And that's one thing that Healy helps you do. One of the, I saw a practitioner, he lives in the Philippines. And he says, he goes, when Marcus comes to visit me, he goes, we have a lot of 5G towers here, and it's an issue. He goes, when Marcus Schmieke comes to visit me, he actually wears 2 Healy devices running on the protection programs because of how effective it is at helping keep you balanced in the presence of that stuff. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I will tell you this. I've worked with a lot of people for many years. I will confidently tell you that the fear of things like Bluetooth, the impact on your nervous system and on your immune system is for many people as bad as the Bluetooth. Why is that? Because if you see something as an outside threat, it turns off your immune system. Why is that? Well, if I'm being chased by wolves, outside threat, I don't need to work on fixing, feeding, defending, and repairing my physical body. I'm in fight or flight mode. So that's what happens. A lot of people, they get so into, oh, I got to fix this, I got to avoid this, right? And they're terrified of what they're eating and consuming and putting on their body and being exposed to. And man, it just trashes their nervous system and immune system, and then they become super vulnerable to everything they were actually scared of. So I'm not. It's not that you shouldn't take precautions. Does that make sense? It's like, don't be stupid, right? You know, but figure out what you need to do, what's important for you, right? For some people, they may be sensitive. They really need to eat all organic. For other people, it would make a minimal difference in their physical health to do that or not do that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Mhm.
So.
I think my concern was more for people that I might share this with who might be sensitive and, you know, and how I would handle that. But your answer is really good. If we are balanced, there are things that are not going to affect us. And so thank you.
It's like, you know, high-powered electric lines, not good for you at all. Does it impact 100% of the people who live near that? Not. It's like the cancer rates aren't 100%, right? So why did it impact some people and not others? That's really the question you want to know. Because unless you're living way out in the boonies somewhere, you're exposed to stuff. You can't get around it. So the question is, how can you be more bulletproof to what you will be exposed to, not how do you eliminate everything, right? Should your 2-year-old have their own cell phone stuck to their head? Absolutely not, right? It's like, don't do that, you know? That's illegal in a lot of countries for good reason. So you got to choose your battles. Is that helpful?
Yes. Speaking of children, is it a problem for me to use my Healy when I'm holding my 7-month-old grandbaby?
If I had a 7-month-old grandbaby, I certainly would not worry about it. Not one single bit. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve, it's Lori. I have a question about that with the cell phone because I still haven't figured out how the program does still work. How far away can you be from your cell phone? Because you used the example of the woman with the neighbor. How far away? Because
well, keep in mind, if you're doing the Pink Dot app, once it's actually loaded and started, you can turn your phone off.
Completely off? Shut it off?
Sure. Because this will still be running. And if you come back and your phone hooks back up to the Healy and you turn it back on, then all of a sudden it'll pop back on the program and you'd be like, oh, it's still been going. It's almost done.
Wow.
For the
okay.
resonance, you can't go too far away, because the resonance, when you're running the resonance, the device, your Healy and your phone are always working the whole time. So that's why if your screensaver comes on, if you do something else on your phone, boom, it's gonna disconnect the vibrational program you're running. Okay, which is why if I'm doing a lot of vibrational programs for people, I like to just pull out my $130 tablet I bought at Costco, because I can just let this sit with a Healy and I'll just run. I don't need to not do anything else. So if I'm running a Blue Dot app on my cell phone, I can't do anything else with my phone while I'm doing that, because it will end the program. So
Steve, I have a question. My name is Kathleen.
yeah.
And my question was going to be about why would it change from white to black as I was running the program. But now my question is, right mid-program, it just switches back to this screen here. And it's asking me to connect to Healy mid-program. And
running a Pink Dot app or
Yeah.
Blue Dot?
Yes, Pink Dot, and it's right next to me here, as you just said. And I've been having this problem constantly. I've had to reboot it every time, and I've had to turn off my phone, and I've had to uninstall the app and reinstall the app and turn off Bluetooth, and I've had to do constantly. So
Sure.
now I'm just running it, and mid-program, it just now goes to this screen again.
Do you
And
have an iPhone or Android?
it's an iPhone.
So one thing I would do is I would play around with the screensaver mode and go back and check and see what your device is set up to, how fast it saves energy, like turns the screen off, different things like that while you're doing things, if that makes sense.
Yes, it normally would go pretty quickly, but it wasn't. It was on this whole conversation that you have been talking for however long you came on. So we're almost an hour in, and it's been on. And I ran the program while you were talking, and it got about 31 minutes in before it switched over to this. So it doesn't screen save 31
so
minutes.
you can, there's a couple things. What I would do a couple things. I would try running it on someone else's phone if that's a chronic problem for you. So you want to isolate. Is it the program or my device doing it, or is it something up with my phone? I know occasionally there's more issues with the Apple iOS interacting with the Healy than with like an Android device as well. But if you use it on, first thing I would do is I would go in and I would change the screensaver mode so it doesn't automatically try to go into screensaver mode, and see if that helps. Yeah.
Okay, that didn't happen while I was on it, so didn't try to go into screensaver mode. I don't.
But I would check and see what it set it. It may not have shown up on your phone, but it may have been trying to do that and interfering with them background.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I will do that. I don't have anybody else's phone to run it on, so that isn't an option. It's just very frustrating because I can't seem to run a full program, and I'm constantly having to reboot it or having to uninstall it and put it back.
Yeah. What you might do is you can buy a very inexpensive used Android phone that you're not going to need a data service for, and just run your Healy and see if it will run on that. So, but the main thing is we don't know if it's your device or your phone, so you got to first figure out where the problem lies before you can actually start fixing it. So. Mitchell, did you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to say there's a couple of things you can do. It's just a Bluetooth connection issue. So it's no longer connecting. And with the Pink Dot app, that doesn't really matter. You can just close down the app. So if you're using Apple, just go to where it shows all your apps that are open and then just swipe it up and close it and then reopen it. And just like he said, it should just boot right back up to where it is. But if it keeps disconnecting, you can turn off your Apple Bluetooth and just turn it back on again. And that resets the Bluetooth. So you can do that on your phone. The other thing you can do is just hold down the power button on the Healy to reset it. So hold it down for 20 seconds. If you do all of that, you shouldn't have any problems.
Yes, I did.
Give that a shot.
I did. Thank you. I just turned off the Bluetooth and I'll turn it back on again. I did hold down and for 20 seconds, and that's what I have to keep doing. I have to keep rebooting it.
Rebooting.
Yes, and it
So-
it's not showing. I just turned Bluetooth back on. It's not showing yet. It's still looking for the device right now.
Yeah.
So
A couple things. One, even though your phone turns off, it doesn't mean that the program's not still running. Does that make sense?
Right. Exactly.
And sometimes when you actually do get it to connect again and you go back in that program, you'll see that it is still going and it has continued going, even though the phone itself hasn't maintained the connection to the device. Because when you're running the pink dot, you could just turn the phone entirely off once the program started, and it will continue to run. So, any next question on that, or anything else? I want to say a couple really simple things when you're trying to fix your device or other people's devices. Sometimes it is fairly simple. Yesterday, a couple days ago, there was a woman, she's like, oh, my device used to work, it's not working anymore, right? And the light flashes, but it won't connect. She's having all sorts of problems. And when she described it to me, she said, well, the light flashes and then it doesn't go anymore. And she goes, but I charged it. Well, the simple thing is she was plugging the charger into her computer USB, which in many situations should work. For some reason, it wasn't charging it, and she thought it was, but it wasn't. And then she simply took it and plugged it into the wall instead, and it started charging. So sometimes it's simple things like that. Also keep in mind when you're trying to help someone troubleshoot something, sometimes it's not just like rebooting it or turning the Bluetooth on or off. Sometimes technology is weird. Sometimes you have to do that like 4 times in a row, which is strange, but all of a sudden then it will start working again. So, and I'm considering doing a different website or some flow chart to actually simplify this for a lot of people. That you go to like fixmyhealy.com and it'd be like, step A, is it doing this or not doing this? Okay, go to B, right? And I have an idea to do something like this so that we can empower people to figure this out much simpler on their own, so they have less stress with their device. So.
If you need help, I'll help you with that.
Okay.
I love that idea.
I may try and convince Ken Close to help me with that as well. But yeah, we have to make it simpler for people because, you know, Kathleen, you want your device to run. And you're like, stupid thing.
it's still not working. I did what he just said. It's still not working.
Yeah. So in your situation, we just need to figure out if it is just your phone or if it's the Healy. And you just have, you know, next time you see someone with a phone, say, hey, can I use your phone and see if I can load this app on your phone and see if it works? So, next question. We're almost, we've been in an hour, so we're kind of over time. Anybody else have something real quick? Going once, going twice. Was this helpful for people today? I have in mind to start doing multiple times a week, just like tech support. Show up, you have questions, we'll sit here for an hour and whoever shows up onto the Zoom will answer your questions. Because I think, you know, a lot of stuff is pretty easy to fix, but if people are frustrated because they can't get the answer from customer service or something like that, we gotta do a workaround for people. So.
Hey,
All right.
Steve.
Yeah.
I still have 2 people that got their Heelys in June that have still not gotten their straps.
Oh, the straps.
Yeah,
they
still have not gotten their
straps.
straps.
Have they gotten a second option for themselves, or are they just strapless since June?
They're strapless.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gotten straps that, you know, people have suggested on the Facebook, but they haven't gotten the ones that are that were supposed to come with the Healy.
Got it. Yeah, I wish I had besides having a ticket and waiting for them to finish all the tickets, I really don't have another option, which is frustrating. But as long as they've got
Okay.
straps, and
All right.
I've gotten some very good straps. I got some great straps from the Florida Research company, like really nice medical
Yeah,
grade
that's what they
straps.
have.
They work great. So as long as they're
They're
actually
the
connected to something.
they're the burgundy ones, right? They're the burgundy color ones. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
they were more gray. The burgundy ones, sounds like some that people have ordered off of Amazon. On the Healy FAQ.com, under the accessory page, there's a link to the Florida Research Company where you can get this.
Okay.
And I
right.
know they're
I'll
having a lot of
suggest them.
issues internationally with their supplier getting them enough straps, which threw a wrench in a whole
Excuse
bunch
me.
of things. So,
Okay.
anyways, well, that's it for today. I appreciate all of you, and have an awesome week.
Thursday
By the
was
way, I am, typically I do a Tuesday night product demonstration. Where I'm going to be on Tuesday night, I'm not going to have good internet. And so I'm going to shift it to Thursday. And I did post that in our group as well.